Hi, my name is Phil Bradley and I'm a librarian and internet consultant, and I'm going to spend a few minutes with you this afternoon looking at Google search engines and social media. The internet is changing, and it's changing dramatically and extraordinarily quickly. Let's have a look at what happens on 1 minute on the internet. As you can see from the figure that I've got here, 6 million Facebook views, 2 million searches on Google, 30, and I think nowadays it's up to about 48 hours worth of video uploaded to YouTube every minute, 20 million photo views on Flickr, 100,000 new tweets on Twitter. The amount of information that is flooding onto the internet is almost incomprehensible. There is no way that we can deal with it these days. Now, that's giving search engines something of a problem, because what they've got to try to do is to index this huge amount of data that you can see here. We've got different conversations, we have social media, we've got traditional resources like web pages and websites, we've got mass media, we've got blogs, we've got social networks, we've got events, photos and video sites and so on. It's really difficult, indeed I think we could say these days it's impossible for search engines to really keep up to date with what's going on. Search engines trying to do exactly that, and you can see here there's a wide variety of different engines, but of course we just tend to stick with Google. Is that the best thing to do? Probably not, but let's have a little bit of a look. We've seen things like the number of tweets on Twitter grow daily to 400 million results. Search engines cannot keep up with that. Indeed, the Google index of web pages has tripled in the last couple of years to 49 billion web pages at least, and that's almost a year old, so we can expect it to be considerably larger now. But interestingly, less people are using search engines these days to find websites. There are a number of reasons why that happens. Partly it's because people are now using social media tools. They're going to be going onto somewhere like Facebook, for example, or they're going to be utilizing a resource such as Twitter. Second reason for this is that a lot of the information that's available on the internet is no longer in that traditional format of web page. We've got groups on Google, we've got the Facebook groups that are available. People are posting their material to Instagram sites. They're going on to places like Flickr for their information. They're blogging. They're doing things in very different ways to those that we've known in the past. So what about traditional search engines like Google, for example? They tend to focus on the web pages. That's what they do. That's what they've always looked for. That's the way that things work for them. They can index the information that they need quickly, simply, and straightforwardly. Unfortunately, however, the emphasis is on older information, not newer information. Google particularly will check on the authority of a page, and it will base that, in part at least, on how old the page is. And very often you find that when you do a search on a traditional search engine, you're getting older material coming up to the top of the search results rather than newer material. You have to specifically ask for the new material, and that's partly because search engines think that if something has been around for a long time, that makes it better, more effective, more authoritative, for example. But that's not how we use the internet now. We're tending to use the internet now for what happened this minute, 5 minutes ago, an hour ago, a day ago. Although search engines attempt to give an indication of authority, there's not an awful lot that they've got that they can work with to do that. Let's take an example here of a Google web page. If you do a search for Martin Luther King Jr. The first result that's coming up on my results, it may well be different on yours, is Martin Luther King Jr. a true historical examination? And you can see from the information there, that first example, the truth about Martin Luther King includes historic trivia, article and pictures, a valuable resource for teachers and students alike. It sounds like it's a good website. However, if you go to that website, you find out quite a lot of unpleasant things about Martin Luther King. And it's if you dig into the website a little bit more that you find that it's put together by a racist, white power, supremacist organisation. Now, Google doesn't care about that because you've done your search for Martin Luther King. Google has found a website that matches that. We've got the word Martin Luther King in the title of the page, it's in the URL, it's at the beginning of the words on the web page, and there are lots of people that link to that. Google, as far as it's concerned, says that's a good web page. It doesn't check anything else. So we're lacking on the authority and the validity of the data, even at that very basic search element. What this results in is we're getting poor quality data. We get the gaming of the search engine. Search engine people will understand that they can optimize web pages to force Google, as it were, into giving them a higher result. So if you know how to write web pages, you stand a very good chance of getting your web page or your website high up in the rankings. Not because it's any good, but because you know how Google works. There's also an acceptance of the results that you get with search engines these days. And I think it's one of the things that concerns me is that we all see, oh, it's in Google, that means it must be right. Why do we need to go anywhere else other than Google? So we're looking at Google just being this all-powerful thing that gives us the information that we need. But this is so far from the truth, it's actually quite dangerous. Now, the search engine wants to be everything to us. Google wants to be everything to us, not because it wants to be a better search engine, but because it makes its money out of advertising. Now, if you think about it, if Google's very good at its job, you run your search, you get the information that you need, the website, the page that you need to go to, and you leave. Thank you very much, Google, I've got what I wanted. Google hasn't made any money out of you. If Google doesn't do a very good job and doesn't give you good results in the organic results, you may well actually have a look at some of the adverts, think that you get a better result with one of the adverts, click on that, and that's how Google's made its money. So Google's in a very interesting position in that if it does its job as a search engine very well, it doesn't make much money. If it wants to make money, it can't do its searching very well. And in any case, we leave Google behind very quickly. We use it as our launch pad and we go off somewhere else. But nonetheless, the engine wants to be everything it can be. So we've got knowledge graph, we have personal results, images, web pages, news, related searches. We're getting to a situation where the web page is so confusing that really, why would we want to try and wade our way through all of that? Search engines also don't really want us to think as much. They want to give us the information for us to be accepting of it. So here, for example, I did a search on teaching search skills. Google decided that it was going to show me results for teaching research skills. And if I wanted to do the search that I wanted to do in the first place, I had to click search instead for teaching search skills. So Google's making me do the search twice because it thinks it knows better than I do. Google also doesn't want us to think because it's making it difficult to find the advanced search option. In the old days, as you can see at the top of the screen there, to the right of the search box, we had advanced search. Click on that, we could go into advanced search. That's no longer there. We have to go to the top right hand corner to the little cogwheel, click that open, look at advanced search, or run our search, then go down to the bottom of the web page of results and then look at the advanced search option that way. Bing, really not that much better. Bing doesn't want to show us advanced search functionality either. In many respects, what search engines want to be able to do is to dumb down and get us to just accept what we get, show us the adverts, and make money out of us clicking on the adverts. We also end up with what Ellie Pariser has referred to as filter bubbles, that we end up in our own little world without thinking beyond that, because the search engines know what we want and they will bring us back more of the same material, so we don't think outside of those particular bubbles. Now, in the summer of 2012, I did some searching on Google, and you can see here everything that's in red is social media. There's a small number of results that I looked for when I was looking for my name that were based on traditional websites. In the autumn of 2012, we'd gone to a different situation with even more emphasis on social media. And in March of this year, we'd gone even further. Yes, there was me, my website, but the other elements that we were seeing, Google+, Weblog, Twitter, SlideShare, Flickr, those are all social media based websites. So what Google is beginning to turn into is not a site that gives us the answer that we want. It's pushing us towards other social media resources. We don't get the answer. We have to go to the secondary sources to get the information that we actually need. Even if I look at the second page, there's links through to Pinterest, to YouTube, to Google+, to SlideShare, to LinkedIn. So social media results and social media sites are now intrinsically linked into what it is that Google and the other search engines are doing. But essentially, search, as we have known it in the past, is broken, because search requires us to be interested in looking for web pages, which we're less and less interested in doing. And so what search is doing is it's pointing us towards a website which is actually a social media site that we need to go to get the information that we require. So what we're now beginning to see is the rise of social search engines. I'm not going to bother to go through all of these. Some of them hopefully you'll be familiar with. But Google is having to fight against other social search engines which are perhaps doing search rather better in some respects than Google is able to. We've also got the situation which is coming up on the rails of Facebook becoming a search engine. It's not going to look quite like this. It's going to look something like this, the Facebook graph. The kind of stuff that we're going to get there is I'm going to be able to search Facebook for the information that I need, and I can check to see which of my friends like the things that I like, which of my friends have been to a particular restaurant. And I'm using my friends and my network to get the information that I need. And the thing that's interesting with Facebook is I'm staying on Facebook. Facebook can continue to throw advertising at me in a way that Google can't. Bing is integrating with social and working with Facebook. So I can do a search here on a particular brand of shoes, and the results on the right hand side of the screen are giving me here an indication as to friends in social networks that may be interested in or have talked about the kind of running shoe that I'm interested in. If I go to somewhere like Blacko, I can connect my Blacko account to my Facebook account, and if I do a search for the term I'm interested in /likes, what Blacko will do is it will find people in my Facebook world that have liked particular web pages, and it will then show me those individuals. So again, I'm using people and my networks to get the information that I require rather than the traditional search engine. Now I can use the social media engines, things like Social Mention or IceRocket. We can see here with IceRocket, blogs, information 14 minutes ago, Twitter 22 seconds ago. I'm getting information on news, I'm getting information on videos and images as well, in a way that I don't get. However good Google tries to be, it cannot do that for me. I can use news collation resources. I can use things like Flipboard or Zite, and they will personalize data. I can go to Zeit, for example, and say, this is what I'm interested in. These are the people that I follow on Facebook and Twitter. And Zeit will find stories for me that it will display in a magazine type format. And I can get the information that I require in a way that Google is simply unable to do so. I can, when I'm on Flipboard, I can again do exactly the same kind of thing. Say to Flipboard, this is who I am on Facebook or on Twitter. These are the kind of things that I'm interested in. And I can get Flipboard to bring that information back for me in a way that Google and other traditional search engines simply cannot do. I can go to other tools, somewhere like Pulse News, for example, and I can get the information that I need on my mobile device or my tablet, for example. And again, what's happening here is I'm leaving the internet behind. I'm leaving traditional web search, I'm leaving traditional websites, and even traditional ways of connecting to the internet behind as I'm using these new devices to get me the information that I need. I can, of course, go on to the website and I can use the Pulse tools there as I need to get the kind of information that I need. I can choose what I'm interested in and so on. Again, I don't need to use the traditional search engine like Google to do that for me. I can use news curation services, XYDO Brief, for example, and they will send me email. So I can say these are the things that I'm interested in, and I can say yes, I like this, no, I don't like that. And these things will learn over the course of time what's of particular interest to me, and they can tailor the news and the information that I'm getting. I can go to news.me and have a daily digest sent to me via email. And as it says on, you can see on the screen, news.me daily digest finds the best stories in your Twitter stream. So again, the more active I am personally on social media, and the wider the group of contacts that I have pulling information in together, feeding that information for me, I can use these tools to work out what's of real importance and interest for me. I can go to somewhere like scoop.it, and what I can do here, I've got an internet search page, and when I find things that I think will be of interest to other people, I can scoop those stories and post them. And if you're aware that I've got a scoop.it account, you can follow me on that. As information professionals, we now have a much wider variety of ways of presenting information to the members of the libraries that we've got. We can be far more active and proactive than we have ever been in the past. And I can also have things scooped for me. A friend in Wales, for example, that knows an awful lot about e-books and e-lending and e-technology. Rather than have to wander around the internet trying to find stuff for myself, I can just go to Alison's page on e-books, e-lending, and get the information that I need directly there. So again, I don't need to use traditional search. I'm getting what I need from my contacts and from my networks. Same thing with things like Sulia as another tool. I can tell it what I'm interested in. I can like particular things. I can teach it what is of interest to me. And the material that it brings back for me is more focused than a search engine will ever be able to be. I can also collate data for myself into my own newspapers, and another website that's really good at that, paper.li, Paperly. If you've not looked at it, I would recommend that you do so. If you are interested in any subject in particular, Paperly can produce your own newspaper, and you can share that with other people, with other users, members of your library, for example. Now, there is a problem. You would expect there to be a problem, and the problem really is, it's all well and good, but people have got jobs to do. People don't have time to do this. People are not allowed to do this kind of thing. This is where we in the information profession have a really big issue, because we do need to interact with our members in very different ways now. We need to do it electronically. We need to be in their face all of the time when they're online, when they're doing different things. We need to be able to find resources for them and present those resources to them wherever they happen to be. We have to go to the conversations. We cannot expect the conversations to come to us. People will increasingly less come to us in the library. They will expect to find us available in their own social networks. So we have to be in those different places. We have to reprioritize what it is that we do. We have to stop being consumers, and we have to create material. And we create material by adding our own ideas and thoughts and links and comments to social media based resources, to Twitter, to Flickr, to Pinterest, to LinkedIn, so that we can be in those places where our users are. Because the more that we are able to share, the easier it becomes. It doesn't take me a huge amount of time to just click on a link, or to tweet it, or to like it in Facebook, or to +1 it in Google Plus, or reference it in Google Communities, for example. It's easy to share material. The more we are able to share, the more that we as information professionals generally, and a specific information professional in particular, are able to help the members of the libraries that we've got, because they can follow us, they can friend us on these different social resources. We can affect the results that they see when they're doing searches on Google, when they're going to Bing, if they're using Bleco, for example. We are moving on the internet into a sharing economy, and there's 4 examples that I've got here of people who are really making a living out of sharing material, sharing access to bikes or to their spare rooms, for example. And we as information professionals can do that ourselves. We can share information on SlideShare. We can let people get access to our bookmarks. We can produce materials on Pinterest. We can use guiding based tools such as Pinterest. None of this requires a search engine to do that for us. And indeed, a lot of this material is not going to be picked up by your traditional search engines. So really what we need to do is do less searching using traditional search methods. And we need to do an awful lot more finding. And the way in which we do that finding is by the connections that we make with each other, by creating groups on Facebook, by going to Google Plus and creating a community on Google Plus, by liking things, by +1ing them. They will all make a difference. We will be able to get into the networks of the members of the library that we have got. We are going to be in a position so that we can say, this is good, go off and find it. We're going to be in a position where users can say, oh, my librarian's just found that. My librarian, I trust my librarian, I better go off and have a look at that kind of information. And we need to be in a position so that when people have got questions, they are able to ask us by asking those questions in their own networks, because people ask people that they know for information. And if we are not active in their networks, we simply have no place in their lives. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an indication of the importance of social media to the role of the information professional. And it's given you an indication that traditional search is perhaps not the area that we need to explore in so much detail in future. because traditional search is finding it very difficult to work within a social media based environment. Thank you very much.